Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I rank the non-NFL Professional Football League cards of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Basically, the sets for the USFL, WLAF, and for the XFL. And these are the name brand card sets that were distributed for, basically for covering the whole league. That's the concept that I'm going by. I recently did a video where I looked at all these card sets in depth. That's what inspired me to do this video. And conveniently for the rankings, I happen to be in the 1992 range, which is where two of the card sets, which is interestingly the majority of the card sets for this ranking, where they landed on the calendar. Even the Pro Set card set was kind of sliding into 1992. So that is really kind of the core area. So it's ironically a convenient time for this to happen. But regardless, that's what I'm going to be looking at. And there are 7 card sets, which makes one very comfortable individual ranking. Now, there is absolutely no place for this ranking to start other than with the 2001 Topps XFL card set because, oh heck yeah, this is a train wreck of a card, but it was intended for that. That's the whole idea. It was supposed to be edgy and combative, the whole chaotic X Games type of a concept. Now, X Games is not the reason for X in XFL. That was just it was a provocative letter to put on there. It just made it feel aggressive and chaotic. I mean, what other way to describe it? So the card set was designed in exactly the same way. I don't understand this card design. It's supposed to get you uncomfortable, which right away has me going, well, then why am I bothering? That's just not the kind of thing that I'm into. So this is a card set that is absolutely lost on me and probably most people. It's what they tried, and yeah, oh well. And the big problem is you can't see the players. I mean, what else is there? Now, a better card than this, a much better card, is the 1996 score card design. Here we got a problem because this is a promo card, so I don't know what the card set would have necessarily looked like. So we get some really tight shots that are impressive shots of the players, except there's no interest to these cards. That's the big problem. The cards do have a lot of potential, but I mean, the card back really doesn't do anything. The card front is too forward. If the action shots were embedded in this card, I'm intrigued to see what it would have looked like, but really I'm more curious about the card back. Where would that have gone? Overall, for an idea of an upcoming card set, I think it works well because it is intriguing. I do not like the lenticular cards, but fortunately I don't have to worry about that. I'm just looking at the main cards. And here all it does is inspire me to wonder what the main card set would have looked like. I'm not a fan of these cards, but I mean, they do look good in a boring sort of way. Which is a perfect segue into number 5 for me, which is the ultimate card set for World League. And by ultimate, I mean it is the Ultimate Card Company. So it is 1992 Ultimate WLAF. That is what this card set is. And it's about as inspirational as the name. It's a very ambitious card that is totally boring, just super boring. At least the images do tend to be really good on these cards. And that's something I'm impressed with this. Overall, the images are below average, but they get some really, really impressive card images in here from time to time, which I give them credit for that. So it is fun to go through them. The problem is that the card design is lackluster, really, really boring. It is a concept that they came up with that didn't quite land. It's their own approach, but yeah, it's just, I really wish that the card design had done a little bit more because, again, some of these images are really good. And oh yeah, about that card back, I don't know. The speckly silver effect is cool on 1990-91 NBA Hoops. It doesn't work here at all. And Hoops was smart enough not to put black text over that speckly effect. Here, I mean, the card number, it's almost impossible to read. The text for the player, it just doesn't work. It's very amateurish. It's like this is the first time that these guys have ever designed cards. They looked at a couple of card concepts and went, oh yeah, I think I know how to do this. And never really took time to pay attention to the results. So I would like more from this card set, again, because they do have some really good images. And I love the structure of the card set, the way that they approached it to inspire future collectors. If the card design itself had landed, then we might have actually had those future collectors. But I don't think that this card really worked in any way. I think that overall it's a more cohesive card design than the scorecards. But still, this is certainly below average, which leads me up to card number 4, which is the midpoint for this whole ranking. This is the middle design, which is 1985 Topps USFL. If there's one thing about this card, it is very, very obvious. It stands out compared to just about anything. It is an overly simplistic card design with just the right accent to make this card actually work well. I like the way the card works. So for me growing up, I didn't know about the USFL cards, except every once in a while I'd see a reference to it and I might see one of these cards. And these are the cards that I do kind of remember from my early awareness of USFL cards. But they look like almost like they're from a different country, kind of like O-Pee-Chee cards. That's kind of the feel that they had. So they felt not really amateurish as much as exotic. That's kind of the thing. That red, bold border just isn't the kind of thing that you saw in the main 3 sports. And the little detailing on the side is a great accent. I don't like the floating elements inside. That's a very 1983 Topps football effect that I wasn't really a fan of at that time, and I'm not a fan of it here. The images, sometimes they work really well, but on average, they don't really hold up. And this is a card which is all about a frame to get you excited about the image inside. And so when the image inside is good, it absolutely lands. If the image inside doesn't land, it absolutely falls short. And most of the images in this card are pretty lackluster, and the card design, I don't think, holds it up because it's too strong, and so it combats a lower tier image. So here it is hit or miss, and the batting average for this card set is unfortunately a bit low. But again, when it hits, I think it's a really impressive card. So yeah, that's where it's at. And then as I head into the top 3, I land, interestingly, at 1991 Pro Set WLAF. Now, I'm a big fan of 91 Pro Set, not as much as 1990 Pro Set, but 91 Pro Set took the 90 concept and refined it and made a more grown-up card version. The problem is that Pro Set was relying in the NFL for lots and lots of images, which allowed them to select better images for NFL cards. In the WLAF, they didn't have quite as much of a range of images for the cards, so they don't have the individual pop as often. Sometimes they do, obviously, but they don't on an average have as good of a read as the NFL cards, but also they're introducing the league to you, so you're not used to the uniforms. You're not used to the players. So when you look at the picture, the players don't stand out, they don't grab you. And if the images were better selected, it might work better. But this is a card set that really needs to focus on showcasing the individual player in order to introduce you to the players and educate you on the teams. That's what this card set doesn't do. It's designed for something very specific, and then it's just translated, or it's just copied straight across to something that it's not quite as refined for. So while the card set does look good, it's not inspirational. And that's the fault that I have for this card set. Again, it is a very good card set. It's just, they should have changed a little bit to these cards in order to make the cards work for a burgeoning up-and-coming audience. That's what I'll say. But still, it is above average. Now, number 2 is 1984 Topps USFL. This is a card I discovered very late. I knew about the 85 set. The 84 set was basically just an entry in the Beckett. I didn't really know what the cards looked like. When I discovered them, at first they didn't seem as good. The detailing doesn't grab me in the way that the 85 card set does. But the 85 card set doesn't hold up over time. It gets kind of boring. Whereas the 84 card set grew on me, and it didn't take long. I began to realize just how good these cards were after a short period of time. And that's because the detailing is all really well done. It is a little curvy. I will say I'm not a big fan of rounding elements on a squared card. In fact, when YouTube took all of our thumbnails, the preview slides, and they rounded the corners, that really killed me because the slides for my videos are all designed on a card basis, and so it needs the sharp corners. And once the short corners got rounded, and you have rounded corners with an inner corner with a sharp inner border, it fights each other. And in this case, that's the only problem I have with the card, is the fact that those rounded elements on the card feel a little amateurish. But otherwise, I love the way the detailing holds up, where for the images that are strong, it's a great card. For the images that are not strong, the card actually still holds my interest. The only flaw, other than the rounded corners, is the yellow box down at the bottom, which for me, I won't say it's a problem, because the rounded corners is what really kind of lets some air out of the tires. With the yellow box, I look at it and go, well, actually it works. It just would have been nice if they'd rethought it and made it a little bit better. That's the only problem. Otherwise, on this card, I go, they nailed it. I will say, though, I am not at all a fan of the card backs, and I never will be. This concept of a card back, just, to me, it looks like what goes on like a Kmart card or a Woolworths card. That's where it belongs. It just doesn't look professional, and it doesn't look like the player provides you with much to talk about. For me, I want to be really talking about the player and engrossing myself in the player's career, and this card absolutely doesn't do that. But on the card front, there's not a lot of complaints. And actually, that's about the same for the number one card set for me, which is 1992 Wild Card WLAF. And this is also a story of two card sides. I'll start off with the card back. The card back actually is not terrible. In fact, I think overall the card back's a little bit better than the Ultimate card back, because with Ultimate, the silver effect makes reading the text really tough. And it also just doesn't look all that great in terms of the layout of the card back. With the Wild Card in 91, and then again here with this early 1992 card set, the card back is way too simplistic. I don't even know what they were really going for. It's all about the color effect, which actually does look pretty good. The card number is horrendous. But setting that aside, aesthetically, it's not bad. But the card front makes more than enough up for it with a merger of the 91 and the 92 wild card designs for football. But here they combined it in a way that it is looking forward to what the 92 football set, the 92 NFL set would look like. But in this case, they combined enough of the black in it that it gives the card a really subdued quality to it. But it also has interest in it, and it highlights elements without getting overly complex. In fact, it doesn't even have all those numbers all over the place that we had on the NFL side. So here, it's actually got some clear space on it, which feels so refreshing. And I love the postage stamp logo. I think that looks great. The images, a lot of the images are selected well, and even when the images are not selected well, the card holds up really well. It would have been nice to have a helmet logo on, or a helmet featured on the front. It just would have kind of tied things together a little bit more, but it's not necessary. But there is one kind of flaw on this card, and that is up on the top left side, they have the squiggly lines. On here, it feels almost like something that kind of detracts from the card. It's the only weakness that it has, but the reason it's there is in order to make the parallel even better. And when the parallel comes through, boy, does it make it better. So I am perfectly fine with that. But overall, this is one of the best card designs of 1992, period. I kind of wish that I'd done this video a few weeks ago so I could have talked about it with the other sports. But regardless, I do like the way this card comes across. Again, it would have been nice to have a front and a back that worked for any of these cards. In that regard, Pro Set is very comfortably the best card of all of them. But overall, I think that these are all really fun designs. And even with the XFL, with the mess of it, it is an exciting mess that I get to look at and go, whoa, boy, okay, well, that's different. And that's really the fun of it. All of these feel like they're not NFL cards. Even in the case of Pro Set, when they use literally the same card design, it doesn't feel like an NFL card. And I love that about these cards. So that's the way that I rank them. Let me know in the comments below your take on it, if you agree with me or if you disagree with me. If you have not seen the videos that I've done on the WLAF, USFL, and the XFL card sets themselves, definitely check those out. They are kind of long, I get that, but I do have those out there. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and thank you very much for watching.